I'm gonna make something I haven't made in a while. I'm gonna make cloud bread, yay! Cloud bread is pretty awesome because you don't need flour for this, so it's a great alternative for people who can't have flour or any type of gluten really, or can't have actually soy too, but you will need dairy for this. So, and I don't really think there's a good alternative for dairy. I mean, you can probably use, well, we'll get through it and I'll kind of explain what you need to do. So cloud bread is pretty much just a keto alternative for what would be rolls or a loaf, depending on what recipe you look at, because some recipes put baking powder and other things in order to help it stabilize and have more of that bread consistency. I will say that this recipe would probably feel like it's sticking to the roof of your mouth. You could do baking powder to help hold and stabilize the structure more and give it more of a, I guess, tougher, less airy consistency. Well, you'll still get the airiness, but it'll hold better. I don't really feel like doing that. I feel like just doing the original, close to original recipe. So this recipe only has 3 ingredients. You heard me, 3. I like simple. Simple's great. There will be a little bit of work here because it requires your leavening agent to be egg whites. So if you have an egg problem, this recipe is not for you. So let's begin. You're gonna do 2 eggs. You're gonna separate them. Egg whites are in here. Egg yolks are in here. I did my best to separate. I did leave a little bit of egg white in the egg yolk. That's completely fine. What you do not want is you do not want egg yolk in the egg white. That changes the stabilization. You will not be able to stabilize the structures. So your egg whites are mostly water and protein, and the protein needs to stretch out, and you need to have the interaction of the amino acids with the water and with one another in order to hold the air bubbles that are created from whisking. Also, it requires cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is going to help you stabilize those bubbles so to actually hold, and you'll be able to bake it without worrying about messing it up somewhere. We're going to do about a little less than a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar with our egg whites. Actually, this recipe is originally 3 eggs. I'm not doing that because 3 eggs makes about 8 to 10. I'm basically making this for myself and I'm doing 2 eggs. I probably could just do 1, but I'm gonna do 2. Maybe I'll pack some for later, so that'll be good. So we'll just beat this for about 3 to 5 minutes. You want soft to stiff peaks. You don't want to overdo it because if you overdo it, then you're gonna start seeing them separate too much. You don't want that. So let's go and do this. Okay, so we've got we got stiff enough peaks. Oh yeah, see that?
See that? That's what we want.
So I'm gonna put this to the side. I'm gonna reuse this for the egg yolks. So in the egg yolks, the 2 egg yolks, I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. You basically just want a 1-to-1 ratio for your cream cheese versus your eggs. So if you have 2 eggs, you want 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. Simple as that. And there's probably other replacements you can use. Dairy has fat, it has protein, and that fat and protein is most likely what works very well with the egg yolks to help keep the consistency and the structure. So if you're going to find a replacement, you'd want to find something that's pretty close. You can probably use one that is more like an avocado. You can probably use an avocado. Actually, yeah. Your best bet is probably an avocado to replace because it still has pretty good fat content. It doesn't have a lot of protein content, but I think you'll be fine because I've seen some recipes use avocado instead of cream cheese. Okay, so we're gonna blend that as well. And this one you don't have to worry so much about over blending because this is not gonna hold a specific structure like our egg whites are gonna hold that structure. You wanna blend this until it's pretty smooth. This is the point in time where if you want to add other flavors or other seasonings, this is the time to do it. So if you want to add garlic powder, or you want to add some cayenne powder, or if you want to add cinnamon to it and sugar, not too much sugar, to it, because this is keto, unless you really want to do it. This is the time to do it, just because once you fold everything together, you do not want to overmix. If you overmix, you are taking the chance that you're going to mess up the structure, and it's not going to hold that rising quality that you see from cloud bread, because that's the whole point of why it's called cloud bread, is because it looks like a cloud and it feels like a cloud when you hold it. So it's really hard to break it apart too as well without messing up the structure. So we've mixed those, and now it's time to fold our egg whites into the egg yolks. We're only going to do a little bit at a time because, like I said, you do not want to overmix them. And just fold them in. Be gentle, but you still want to make sure that all of it's pretty incorporated. And what I do to fold is that I just kind of scrape the sides and fold all of that in instead of starting from the middle. It is looking as mixed as it's going to get without ruining the structure, and it looks really pretty actually. So I will show it to you once I put it down onto and spoon it onto my baking sheet. Okay, so let's look at the batch and how cloudy it looks. Okay, so it doesn't look very cloudy, as in cloudy, but it looks kind of risen a bit. I guess I can show that. See, it has a little bit of a rise to it. It'll rise a little bit more. So that's 4 of them, and I'm just gonna start with those, and then I'll make the rest of the batch. And they need to sit for about, I'd say, and they just, So we're gonna bake these at 300 degrees because you don't want them too hot. You still want the structure to be created. Like you do with a lot of egg whites, you end up having a lower temperature and a longer cooking time. So we're going to put these at 300 for probably about 20 to 30 minutes. So while I do that, then I'm gonna do the next batch. So now we're done, we're letting it cool, and let's take a look at it. So this is what these bad boys look like. I think they look pretty delicious. I mean, they're not very, very brown, and they're not very, very light, so I think they're in the right place. So, yay! So let's try out a big one, because it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna try out the one that looks the best. So, ooh, very fluffy and light. I'll show you the inside.
Ooh, look at how fluffy and light that looks. Looks like a cloud.
Tastes like one too. Tastes like one too. Actually, I don't know what clouds taste like. They probably taste like water since they're made of water. It's very light, very fluffy. It doesn't taste like much. You could always add, like I said, salt or garlic salt or something else to it. It's pretty much a blank slate. And there's only like a slight flavor of cream cheese in it. Not as bad as some people say that it's supposed to taste more like cream cheese than anything. This recipe to me doesn't really. So, very good. Very healthy. Can stick to the roof of your mouth, so that's kind of a negative, but it's a good little snack to have or a piece of quote-unquote bread to have. And you can make sandwiches out of it as you've seen the pieces. Smear on it or I mean, actually, you could probably put like jam on it or something. I'm not going to because I'm not a jam person. I'm just going to enjoy them for what they are. And, yeah. So, success. I definitely suggest trying them out. Real easy recipe. It does take a good amount of baking time though. So that's the only thing I'd be a little wary of, that you can't do this on a short notice. But as you've seen them, you can store them. You just have to be careful when you store them because they are light, so they can easily be smooshed. So just make sure that you have spacing pretty well and that you're not pushing them down too much when you store them. But they're a good thing to have, a good replacement for regular bread if you just want something light and airy. If you want something with a little more density to it, then you're probably going to want to go with another keto bread recipe, not this one. Something that has like a baking powder in it or something. Or go with something that has a coconut flour or an almond flour, that you're getting more protein and fat than you are getting sugar or carbs as your substitute. Try them out, see how you feel, and I'll catch you next time. I like eating more. Maybe I should put some schmear on this. Probably butter.